Hey, fourth graders. All right, so this is Artemis Fowl, our read aloud for today, for Wednesday, which is tomorrow for me, but it's today for you, unless you're watching it tonight. Anyway, I will read probably the rest of chapter 6, which is quite a bit. Looks like it's 15 pages, so hopefully everybody will be pretty satisfied with that much. Of course, if you remember from Tuesday, when we last left, Butler had beaten up the retrieval squad and sent all of them except for Corporal. Let's see, Corporal. What was his last name? Kelp, I think. Yes, Corporal Kelp. Actually, Grub Kelp is his real name. Corporal is his rank. His brother, Captain Trouble Kelp, is the boss of the retrieval squad. He got beat up, and so Grub is really excited to go home and tell Mommy how good he did, and that Trouble got beaten up, and Grub did not, though of course Grub did basically get beaten up. He just hid and was scared, I guess, and Butler took pity on him and didn't punt him back to where the fairies were at. So Butler gathered up all the helmets and guns and that sort of thing from the fallen retrieval squad and took them back to the room that Artemis is at. Artemis had given his mother a sleeping pill, and he was monitoring her room, which we aren't 100% sure about why he did those things. Holly was still locked in her cell, but she was banging her bed on the floor, and when Juliet told her to knock it off, Holly didn't tell Juliet, but we, the readers, found out that there's some specific rules about how you have to give instructions to fairies, if they have to follow your instructions or not. And Juliet does not know those rules, so she didn't follow them, so basically Holly can still do the things that she wants to do, which involves banging a bed on the floor for reasons. Also, Artemis and Butler were chatting, and Artemis said that the Fowl Manor is on a bed of limestone and that not even a dwarf could tunnel out or in, except for the book, again, tells us that he is mistaken, and so probably we will see that that be a thing that comes up eventually. So, all right, the LEP had procedures for emergencies like this one. Admittedly, these did not include the retrieval squad getting hammered by a lone enemy. Still, that made the next step all the more urgent, especially with the faintest of orange tinges creeping into the sky. So, of course, the fairies, for whatever reasons having to do with magic and rules, I'm sure, they want to have this issue resolved before morning. "Are we good to go?" roared Root into his mic, as though it wasn't whisper sensitive. Good to go, thoughtfully, busy wiring the last dish on the watchtower, or on a watchtower. These military types and their catchphrases. Good to go, lock and load. I don't know, but I've been told. You're so insecure. Aloud, he said, "There's no need to shout, Commander. These headsets could pick up a spider scratching in Madagascar." Is there a spider scratching in Madagascar? Well, I don't know. They can't really... Well, stop changing the subject, Foley, and answer the question. The centaur scowled. The commander took everything so literally. He plugged the dish's lead into his laptop, or modem lead into his laptop. Okay, we're good to go. About time, too. Right, flip the switch. For the third time in as many moments, Foley gritted his horsey teeth. He was indeed the stereotypical unappreciated genius. Flick the switch, if you don't mind. Root didn't have the cranial capacity to appreciate what he was trying to do here. Stopping time wasn't just a matter of pressing the on button. There was a series of delicate procedures that had to be performed with utmost precision. Otherwise, the stop zone would end up as just so much ash and radioactive slop. So they are apparently stopping time, and if they don't do it exactly right, then the area where time is supposed to stop will be basically like getting hit with a nuclear bomb. Like, they'll just be ash and radioactive goop. So that sounds dangerous. While it was true that fairies had been stopping time for millennia, these days, with satellite communication and the internet, humans were liable to notice if a zone just dropped out of time for a couple of hours. There was an age when you could throw a blanket stoppage over a whole country and the mud people would simply think the gods were angry. But not anymore. Nowadays, the humans had instruments for measuring anything, so if there was any time stopping to be done, it had better be fine-tuned and precise. In the old days, 5 elfin warlocks would form a pentagram around the target and spread a magic shield over it, temporarily stopping time inside the enchanted enclosure. This was fine as far as it went, provided the warlocks didn't have to use the bathroom. Many a siege was lost because an elf had 1 glass of wine too many. Warlocks tire quickly too, and their arms got sore. On a good day, you had maybe an hour and a half, which was hardly worth the trouble in the first place. It was Foley's idea to mechanize the whole procedure. He had the warlocks do their thing into lithium batteries and then set up a network of receiver dishes around the designated area. Sounds simple? Well, it wasn't. But there were definite advantages. For one thing, there was no more power surges. Batteries didn't try to show off to each other. You could calculate exactly how many power cells were needed, and the siege would be extended for up to 8 hours. As it happened, the Fowl estate was the perfect location for a time stoppage, isolated with a definite boundary. It even had elevated towers for the dishes, for heaven's sake. It was almost as if Artemis Fowl wanted it to be time stopped. Foley's finger hesitated over the button. Could it be possible? After all, the human youth had been one step ahead throughout this whole affair. Commander? Are we online yet? Not exactly. There's something... Root's reaction nearly blew out the woofers in Foley's earpiece. No, Foley, there isn't something. None of your bright ideas. Thank you very much. Captain Short's life is in danger. Push the button before I climb the tower and push it with your face. Touchy, muttered Foley and pushed the button. Lieutenant Crudgeon checked his moonometer. You have 8 hours. I know how much time I have, growled Root. And stop following me. Don't you have work to do? Actually, now that you mention it, I have a biobomb to arm. Root rounded on him. Don't annoy me, Lieutenant. Having you make comments at every turn is not improving my concentration. Just do whatever it is you feel you have to do, but be prepared to back it up at the tribunal. If this goes wrong, heads are going to roll. Indeed, muttered Crudgeon under his breath, but mine is not going to be one of them. Root checked the sky. A shimmering azure field had descended over the Fowl estate. So azure is kind of a blue color. So basically he looks up and there's kind of this blue dome over Fowl Manor. Good. They were in limbo. Outside the walls, life continued at an exaggerated pace. But if anyone were to somehow gain access to the manor in spite of the fortified walls and high gate, they would find it deserted, all occupants trapped in the past. So for the next 8 hours, it would be twilight on the Fowl estate. After that, Root could not guarantee Holly's safety. Given the gravity of the situation, it was more than likely that Crudgeon would get the go-ahead to biobomb the whole place. Root had seen a blue rinse before. No living thing escaped, not even the rats. Root caught up with Foley at the base of the North Tower. The Centaur had parked a shuttle by the 3-foot-thick wall. Already, the work area was a mess of tangled wires and pulsing fiber optics. Foley, are you in here? The Centaur's foil-capped head emerged from the belly of a disemboweled hard drive. Over here, Commander. You've come to push a button with my face, I presume. Root almost laughed. Don't tell me you're looking for an apology, Foley. I've already used my quota for today, and that was to a lifelong friend. Crudgeon, forgive me, Commander, but I wouldn't waste my apologies on the Lieutenant. He won't be wasting any on you when he stabs you in the back. You're wrong about him. Crudgeon is a good officer. A bit eager, certainly, but he'll do the right thing when the time comes. The right thing for himself, maybe. I don't think Holly is at the top of his priority list. Root didn't answer. He couldn't. And another thing, I have a sneaking suspicion that young Artemis Fowl wanted us to stop time. After all, everything else we've tried has played straight into his hands. Root rubbed his temples. That's impossible. How could a human know about time stoppage? Anyway, this is no time for theorizing, Foley. I have less than 8 hours to clean up this mess. What have you got for me? Foley clopped over to the equipment rack, clamped to the wall. No heavy armament, that's for sure. Not after what happened to Retrieval 1. No helmet either. That beast of a mudman seems to collect them. No, to show good faith, we're going to send you in unarmed and unarmored. Root snorted. What manual did you get this from? It's standard operating procedure. Fostering trust speeds communication. Oh, stop quoting and give me something to shoot. Suit yourself, sighed Foley, selecting what looked like a finger from the rack. What's that? It's a finger. What does it look like? A finger, admitted Root. Yes, but not an ordinary finger. He glanced around to make sure that no one else was watching. The tip contains a pressurized dart. One shot only. You tap the knuckle with your thumb and someone goes Betty bye. Why haven't I seen this before? It's a covert kind of thing. And, said Root suspiciously, well, there have been accidents. Tell me, Foley. Our agents keep forgetting they have it on, meaning they shoot themselves. Foley nodded miserably. One of our best sprites was picking his nose at the time. 3 days on the critical list. So this is a finger. It's a weapon that will go over the top of their finger, and it's got like a little pressurized thing here, and if you rub your knuckle, then it shoots out a dart. But if you're not thinking about it and you happen to be like scratching and you push your thumb against your knuckle, then you're scratching and all of a sudden you've shot yourself in the face with a dart. And apparently one of them had his finger up his nose and shot himself up his nose. Let's see. Root rolled the memory latex onto his index finger, where it immediately assumed the shape and flesh tone of the host digit. Don't worry, Foley, I'm not a complete idiot. Anything else? Foley unhooked what appeared to be a false bottom from an equipment rack. You're not serious. What does that do? Nothing, admitted the centaur, but it gets a great laugh at parties. So it was a butt. It was a fake butt that he took off an equipment rack, and Root was like, what does that do? And Foley's like, nothing. It's just for a laugh. Okay, Root chuckled twice. That was a major lapse for him. Okay, levity over. Are you going to wire me? Naturally. Iris cam. What color? He peered into the commander's eyes. Mud brown. He selected a small vial from a shelf and removed the electronic contact lens from a fluid capsule. Plucking Root's eyelid and with thumb and forefinger, he slotted it in the iris cam. That might irritate you. Try not to rub it or it could end up in the back of your eye. Then we'll be looking into your head, and there's nothing interesting in there, heaven knows. So basically, he's got a contact lens in that's a camera. Root blinked, resisting the urge to need his watering eye. That's it? Foley nodded. That's all we dare risk. The commander agreed reluctantly. His hip felt very light without a tri-barreled blaster dangling from it. Okay, I suppose this amazing dart will have to do. Honestly, Foley, if this blows up in my face, you'll be on the next shuttle back to Haven. The centaur snickered. Just be careful using the toilet. Root didn't laugh. There were some things you didn't joke about. Artemis' watch had stopped. It was as though Greenwich wasn't there anymore. Or perhaps, mused Artemis, we're the ones who have disappeared. He checked CNN. It had frozen. A picture of Riz Khan jittered slightly on the screen. Artemis could not hold back a satisfied smile. They had done it. Just like the book said, the LEP had stopped time, all according to plan. Time to check out a theory. Artemis wheeled over to the monitor bank and punched up the MAM cam on the 28-inch main monitor. Angelina Fowl was no longer on the Chase Lounge. Artemis panned around the room. It was empty. His mother had gone, disappeared. His smile widened. Perfect, just as he'd suspected. Artemis switched his attention to Holly Short. She was banging the bed again. Occasionally, she would rise from the mattress, pounding the wall with her bare fists. Maybe it was more than frustration. Could there be a method to his madness? He tapped the monitor with his slim finger. What are you up to, Captain? What's your little plan? He was distracted by movement on the Avenue monitor. At last, he breathed. The game begins. A figure was advancing down the avenue, small but imposing nonetheless. Unshielded, too. Finished play acting, then. Artemis punched the intercom button. Butler, we have a guest. I'll show him in. You get back here and police the surveillance cameras. Butler's voice came back tiny through the speaker. 10-4, Artemis, on my way. Artemis buttoned his designer jacket, pausing at the mirror to straighten his tie. The trick to negotiation was to hold all the cards going in, and even if you didn't, to try to look as though you did. Artemis put on his best sinister face. Evil, he told himself. Evil but highly intelligent. And determined. Don't forget determined. He put a hand on the doorknob. Steady now. Deep breaths, and try not to think about the possibility that you have misjudged the situation and are about to be shot dead. 1, 2, 3. He opened the door. Good evening, he said, every inch the gracious host, albeit a sinister, evil, intelligent, and determined one. Root stood on the doorstep, palms up, the universal gesture for, look, I'm not carrying a big murderous weapon. You're Fowl? Artemis Fowl, at your service. And you are? LEP Commander Root. Right, we know each other's names, so could we get on with this? Certainly. Root decided to chance taking out his weapon. Step outside, then, where I can see you. Artemis's face hardened. Have you learned nothing from my demonstrations? The ship? Your commandos? Do I need to kill someone? No, said Root hurriedly. You only meant to lure me outside where I could be snatched and used to trade. Please, Commander Root, raise your game or send someone more intelligent. Root felt the blood pump through his cheeks. Now you listen to me, you young... Artemis smiled, in command again. Not very good negotiation technique, Commander, to lose your cool before we even get to the table. Root took several deep breaths. Fine, whatever you say. Where would you prefer to conduct our talks? Inside, of course. You have my permission to enter, but remember, Captain Short's life is in your hands. Be careful with it. Root followed his host down the vaulted hallway. Generations of fowls glared down at him from classical portraits. They passed through a stained oak doorway to a long conference room. There were 2 places set at a round table, complete with pads, ashtrays, and water jugs. Root was delighted to see the ashtrays, and immediately pulled a half-chewed cigar from his vest. Maybe you're not such a barbarian after all, he grunted, exhaling a huge cloud of green smoke. The commander ignored the water jugs, instead pouring himself a shot of something purple from a hip flask. He drank deeply, belched, and sat. Ready? Artemis shuffled his notes like a news anchor. Here's the situation as I see it. I have the means to expose your subterranean existence, and you are powerless to stop me. So basically whatever I ask for is a small price to pay. Root spat out a shred of fungus tobacco. So you think you can just put all this information out over the internet? Well, not immediately. Not with the time stop in effect. Root choked on a lungful of smoke. Their ace in the hole, gone. Well, if you know about the time stop, you must also know that you are completely cut off from the outside world. You are, in effect, powerless. Artemis jotted a note on the pad. Let's save some time here. I grow weary of your clumsy bluffs. In the case of an abduction, the LEP will first send a crack retrieval team to get back what has been lost. You have done so. Excuse me while I titter. Crack team? Honestly, titter means laugh or chuckle. A Cub Scout patrol armed with water pistols could have defeated them. Root fumed silently, taking out his anger on the cigar butt. The next official step is negotiation, and finally, when the 8-hour time limit is about to run out, and if no solution can be reached, a biobomb is detonated, contained by the time field. You appear to know an awful lot about us, Master Fowl. I don't suppose you'll tell me how. Correct. Root smashed the remainder of his cigar into the crystal ashtray. So let's have it. What are your demands? One demand, singular. Artemis slid his notepad across the polished table. Root read what was written there. 1 ton of 24 karat gold, small unmarked ingots only? You can't be serious. Oh, but I am. Root sat forward in his chair. Don't you see? Your position is untenable. Either you give us back Captain Short or we'll be forced to kill you all. There is no middle ground. We don't negotiate, not really. I'm just here to explain the facts to you. Artemis smiled his vampire smile. Oh, but you will negotiate with me, Commander. Oh, really? And what makes you so special? I am special because I know how to escape the time field. Impossible, snorted Root. Can't be done. Oh, yes, it can. Trust me. I haven't been wrong yet. Root tore off the top page, folding it into his pocket. Or off the top of the page. Tore off the top page. Oh, I guess it's the top page of the notepad. Sorry. Folding it into his pocket. I'll have to think about this. Take your time. We have 8 hours. Excuse me, 7.5 hours. Then time's up for everyone. Root said nothing for a long while, tapping his nails on the tabletop. He took a breath to speak, then changed his mind and stood abruptly. We'll be in touch. Don't worry. I'll see myself out. Artemis pushed his chair back. You do that, but remember this. None of your race has permission to enter here while I'm alive. Root stalked down the hallway, glaring back at the oil paintings. Better to leave now and process this new information. The Fowl boy was indeed a slippery opponent, but he was making one basic mistake, the assumption that Root would play by the rules. However, Julius Root hadn't gotten his commander stripes by following any rule book. Time for a bit of unorthodox action. The videotape from Root's iris cam was being reviewed by experts. You see here, said Professor Cumulus, a behavior specialist, that twitching. He's lying. Nonsense, huffed Dr. Argon, a psychologist from below the United States. He's itchy, that's all. He's itchy, so he scratches. Nothing sinister in it. Cumulus turned to Foley. Listen to him. Can I be expected to work with this charlatan? Witch doctor, counted Argon. Foley raised his hairy palms. Gentlemen, please, we need agreement here, a concrete profile. It's no use, said Argon. I can't work in these conditions. Cumulus folded his arms. If he can't work, neither can I. Root strode through the shuttle double doors. His trademark purple complexion was even rosier than usual. That human is toying with us. I will not have it. Now, what do our experts make of the tape? Foley moved slightly to the side, allowing the commander a clear run at the so-called experts. Apparently they can't work in these conditions. Root's eyes narrowed to slits, bringing his prey into sharp focus. Excuse me? The good doctor is a half-wit, said Cumulus, unfamiliar with the commander's temper. I'm a half-wit, stuttered Argon, equally ignorant. What about you, Cave Fairy, plastering your absurd interpretations onto the most innocent of gestures? Innocent? The boy is a bag of nerves, obviously lying. It's textbook. Root slammed a clenched fist onto the table, sending a spiderweb of cracks scurrying across the surface. Silence! And silence there was, instantly. Now, you two experts are on handsome retainers for your profiling, correct? Retainer means that they're being paid money. So basically, if you're on retainer, lawyers often nowadays are people who'd be on retainer. That just means that somebody pays you and then you agree to come in and work with them whenever they need it. So usually they pay you quite a bit, or they pay you a certain amount every month. Let's see. So you two are experts on handsome retainers for your profiling work, correct? The pair nodded, afraid to speak in case that broke the silence rule. This is probably the case of your lives, so I want you to concentrate very hard. Understood? More nods. Root popped the camera out of his weeping eye. Fast forward it, Foley, toward the end. The tape hopped forward erratically. On the screen, Root followed the human into his conference room. There, stop it there. Can you zoom in on his face? Can I zoom in on his face? Snorted Foley. Can a dwarf steal the web from under a spider? Yes, replied Root. That was a rhetorical question, actually. I don't need a grammar lesson, Foley. Just zoom in, would you? Foley ground his tombstone teeth. Okay, boss, will do. The centaur's fingers prodded the keyboard with lightning speed. Artemis's visage grew to fill the plasma screen. I'd advise you to listen, said Root, squeezing the expert's shoulders. This is a pivotal moment in your careers. I am, said the mouth on the screen, because I can escape the time field. Now tell me, said Root, is he lying? Run it again, said Cumulus. Show me the eyes. Argon nodded. Yes, just the eyes. Foley tapped a few more keys, and Artemis's deep blue eyes expanded to the width of the screen. I am special, boomed the human voice, because I can escape the time field. Well, is he lying? Cumulus and Argon looked at each other, all traces of antagonism gone. No, they said simultaneously. He's telling the truth, added the behaviorist. Or, clarified the psychologist, at least he thinks he is. Root swabbed his eye with a cleansing solution. That's what I thought. When I looked that human in the face, I figured he was either a genius or crazy. Artemis's cool eyes glared at them from the screen. So which is it? Asked Foley. A genius or crazy? Root grabbed his tri-barrel blaster from the gun rack. What's the difference? He snapped, strapping his trusty weapon to his hip. Get me an outside line to E1. This foul person seems to know all of our rules, so it's time to break a few. And that is the end of chapter 6. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you guys are having a good day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.